it's Shani. Welcome back. Guess what time it is? It is time for our weekly roundup, where I go over all of the eyeshadow palettes I've used over the past week and I rank them from least liked to most liked. Now this week I have 6 slots and I'm just gonna go ahead and jump right in. Now, I did do my hair a little differently this week. Like, the twists are smaller, which I didn't mean to do. But it's, you know, it'll make it easier to, like, put up. I mean, cheekbone. This is very, very common for my family. Just, right? Anyway, so let's go ahead and jump in like I said I was going to. At number 6, I have the Nomad Cosmetics Ghost Town USA palette. This is probably one of the like more fun covers I have or packaging from a brand. I just love how this changes, but also I'm easily amused. And so, yeah. Now, this is one of their cooler tone palettes, I would say. I think that this has a ton of different shades that you can use. I also, I think I've said, and some of you have agreed, I do like to sort of visually separate things into like quads or, you know, like 2 shades. And so I really feel like this is one that you can do that with, because I think that the 2 sides, I would say, like if you were to cut it right here, it's like 2 different palettes if you want it to be. And so I think that can make it easier to sort of look at and figure out looks that you want to do if you're just a little intimidated by the range of shades here. So I like this palette. It's one of the cooler tone ones in my opinion that the brand has, and it's definitely more of one of the cooler tone palettes that I have. I really appreciate that they've got some depth in terms of the mattes. I find that the mattes show up pretty well on my skin tone, and I always love when that is true for a brand. Now, was I gonna say anything else about it? No. Yeah, I think for this look, I stayed more on this side, just using a few shades. I want to say it was like these 3, and I like it fine. I just don't really enjoy cooler tones on me as much. I think just because I'm so used to warm tones, but I do like the formula, and it's definitely a palette I will continue to use. At number 5, I have the Glaminatrix Into the Night palette. Now, this is a really fun palette in terms of the colors, and if you're someone that likes to wear colors based on season, I want to say that this can go across seasons. You've got the brighter colors like for summer and spring, and then you can use these deeper shades, especially the mattes, to kind of transition things into fall or even winter. And I've pretty much liked every Glaminatrix palette that I've gotten. I will say one thing that is disappointing is that oftentimes for quite a few indie brands that I like, their palettes sort of go out of stock and aren't released or anything, and so it's like you have to jump on them real fast and quick if you really want it. But they do also have singles, so I can appreciate that, but I do wish that some of their palettes stayed around just a little bit longer. Now at number 4, I have 2 palettes from the same brand. This is the Natasha Denona mid-sized Zendo palette, and I paired it with the mini Zendo. Now, I use these palettes because Dawn mentioned using them and not feeling as great. Or she used one, and Dawn, I couldn't remember which one it was. I couldn't remember if it was the mini or the midi size. So I decided to use them both. Now, in using them, I will say I like the mini because of its size, but I prefer the full size or the mid-size Zendo. It is just, it has more of a range of shades. I do think a lot of people get confused by this side, like, why are those there? Because the rest of the palette, it doesn't match, you know? But again, I think if you take the shades and look at them, like make smaller palettes with them, then it kind of makes more sense, and I think you can create more looks. Now, by all means, you can use all the colors however you want to, but for me, when I'm like eyeballing it, sometimes it's easier to be like, oh, okay, these go together, these go together, you know, these go together. I find like that's just a little bit easier for me, and I do think that Natasha Denona sets up a lot of her palettes that way. So if I were deciding between the larger size and the mini, I would definitely go with this one, the mid-size. I do know that this isn't a favorite palette for a lot of people. It doesn't really get much hype. I was surprised by how much I actually enjoy it. But yeah, it's not one, I think it's not one that's super popular amongst folks who like her palettes. I would say that because this continues to have that older formula of hers, unlike the I Don't Need a Nude and I Don't Need a Warm palettes, those are ashy. I prefer this one over any of the newer ones that I'm not as excited about. Especially the new formulas. I just don't like them as much. Mainly because the shimmers are, you have to build the opacity up, and I feel like her older formulas, you don't have to worry about that. The opacity is there for the shimmers kind of right away. But if you don't mind that, then go ahead with her newer palettes, because I think you'll get what you're looking for. Now, at number 3 is a Viseart palette. It is the Dark Edit palette. Now, I use this for work, and I'm just going to say this shade is not here for it. This shade does not like me, even though I did use this shade to do the look. It's just from jump been like broken or something. I just feel like it's revolting, and it is like, I want to get out of here, girl. But I really like it. So there are only 4 shimmers in here, but they're all really pretty, and they go with a lot of different mattes. What are those? 8 mattes. And if you have other palettes this size, then you can switch things out, which I might end up doing just because this bugs me. Especially since it's such a pretty color. Now, I really just like the depth of the mattes. I like that I don't have to pull in another palette to deepen things up, and it just has just a nice little gradient here with some of the shades. And I really enjoy Viseart mattes. I have a couple of their like neutral mattes that I will be sure to talk about in a video, because one of you asked me to talk about my neutral palettes, and when I get my life together, I promise I'm gonna do that. I've been thinking about it, I just haven't executed it quite yet, all right? But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. But I really like Viseart palettes. I think when I'm looking for a simple neutral look, I would say, along with a couple of other palettes, their neutral mattes, they're just awesome. Like, I don't know, I think a lot of people go on and on about Viseart mattes, and I understand why. I really like them. What I will say, girl, is the palettes are expensive. Like, no matter how nice the mattes are, you don't need them. Like, just don't even expose yourself to the mattes, because then you won't know what you're missing out on. But yeah, they're expensive. Go ahead and try when they have a sale, or when things are like deeply discounted, maybe give them a try. But other than that, like, I think they probably, makeup artists get a bit more use out of them. I say that as I have quite a few of them, but I've only got them on sale. Now, at number 2, guess. I'll give you a moment. Yep, Danessa Myricks, the Groundwork Neutrals palette, and this is pretty much used weekly by me. I'm starting to hit pan on some of the other shades that I use a little less, and like, I even think about like, don't use it too much, cause you're gonna use it up. And she hasn't yet said anything about refills, so thankfully Tracy sent me hers, and so when this is kind of done, I'm just gonna go ahead, and I have a backup. And I do like the defining neutrals more than I like the blooming romance. Now, I did see someone like, since the pans are magnetic, like switching around and combining parts of both palettes. And I just want to say, I said that earlier. So like earlier in the year. I'm just saying, I already came up with that idea. Like it's a new idea. But I really just enjoy this palette so much. And if I'm not doing a complete look with it, then I'm often going into tourmaline to do a liner, to darken things up. And I will say, I believe I've said this before, and I'll probably say it again and again. I think that once I started to set that putty formula with these like matte formulas, then I feel like my looks lasted longer and held up better in terms of no creasing and things like that, because you do have to remember this is like a putty kind of formula, and if you have human eyelids, then it's probably going to like crease at times. I don't really mind that super much as long as it doesn't like really come through, but setting it with the powders I feel like take the shades to another level. So this is at number 2. I will try, like, I know some people have been like, no, you should include it if you use it. I will try. No, I can't say that. I was gonna say I would try to not have it in here, but I have this palette in my roundup more often than not, I believe. So maybe I'll just have you guess like what number it is. But yeah, really enjoyed this. And at number 1, I'm kind of surprised because when I did the look, I wasn't super excited, but when I looked at the look, I was like, oh, this is super cute. And it was with the side-by-side nude palette Baby from Nabla Cosmetics. Ooh. Now, I will say that the original size, the regular, I guess, adult versus baby, that one is one of my favorite palettes, like hands down, just fave, period. Along with like Huda's Rich Nude. Like there are some palettes where I'm like, definitely for sure I like these, and I have panned multiple shades. Now, I like panned quite a few shades on the regular size. And so when they came out with the Baby, I was like, oh, you know, let me go ahead and get that. Like maybe I don't need all the size or all the pans that are in the regular one. Now, what I will say is this has lighter shades than, or more lighter. I don't know. Yeah. Than the original, and I don't like this one as much as the original. I mean, I think I like the size of this because that makes it a bit easier to take with me, but I really prefer the original one. Like the shimmers more opaque, you have more choices of mattes and more choices of deeper mattes, so excuse me. Although I ended up liking the look, I will say that I felt the need to build up the shimmers to really give me what I was looking for. It came out cute, I think, but definitely, I think I'm actually just gonna repurchase the mid-sized one, the regular, the adult, teen, I don't know, whatever it is, the non-baby one, because I definitely prefer that over this one, although the look was cute, came out cute. Just not my favorite palette. I'm surprised because I used the original one a lot and I don't find myself reaching for this one a ton. I actually was thinking I want to make sure to use this palette this week because I hadn't been using it. I'm just like Butterfingers. So yeah, if you're interested in the Nabla palettes, if you're comparing the Baby to the original size, I will go with the original size. One, you just get more shades, and I just like the depth of that one a bit more than the Baby. Okay, so I think that is it. I think those are all the palettes I used this week. I believe there might be, I don't know, some that I didn't remember. And I think I actually might have used the Danessa palette another time during the week, but yeah. So let me know what you used during this past week and what you might use next week. Did I mention that I used the Zendo because Dawn, used hers and told me about it, and I couldn't remember if she used the mini or the mid-size, so I used both. I think I said that. So if there are palettes you're like, oh, can you use that one and let me know what you think, let me know. And I will definitely get to doing a video talking about like some of the neutral palettes I have. There's a lot happening, y'all. And I'm just trying to stay as sane as possible. But it's a little bit of a struggle. So shout out to my friends for like taking care of me. And to G. He was really helpful. Anyways, I think that's it. Yeah. No, there's nothing else. What do I usually say at the end? I hope that some of this was helpful, and I also hope that you are continuing to take care of yourself. I would love it if you like the video, and I would love it even more if you subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.